the other side of the problem, but it was a really good and significant deal that they signed to get people back. So it's very important. I don't know what will be after this. Maybe ceasefire will end, but this is very important.
Of course, it's great that at least these three young women were released. There's still over 100 that have not been released. And it's also important to note that there were a lot of Palestinians, women and children, who were also released. And I think that obviously I hope to see this go forward. I hope to see this agreement fully implemented. We'll see.
Yeah. And let's go back to Ukraine. You have been following the war in Ukraine since the Russian invasion. Please assess Russia's military capabilities now, how long they can last.
Well, it's hard to know for sure because I don't trust any number that comes out of Russia in terms of industrial capacity, economic numbers, that sort of thing. But I think most experts that look at Russia's economy is that it's in trouble, that they cannot make up all of their losses, that they're losing more tanks and artillery and equipment than they can produce. They depend on North Korea for ammunition. They depend on Iran for drones and ballistic missiles. They depend on China for technology. That's why the sanctions on the Shadow Fleet vessels, I think there's like 188 of them or something that are sanctioned. If Russia is not able to sell its oil to China and India, that will significantly reduce their ability to purchase ammunition and other things from Iran, North Korea, and China. So that will have an impact. And I hope that the Trump administration will leave those sanctions in place. That to me is the most important economic thing we can watch, I think. Now, the number of troops they've lost, I think Putin doesn't care as long as they don't come from Moscow or St. Petersburg. He doesn't care how many casualties they have. But he has been avoiding, I believe, any sort of conscription of men from the two major metropolitan areas, because obviously he does not want to have funerals in those two cities.
Of course.
The North Koreans, of the 12,000 that have come, I read this morning that 4,000 of them have been killed or wounded or captured. So I don't know how much of an impact this is going to have. From Ukrainians with whom I speak, they have a respect for the North Korean troops as being tough, fit, but not yet well trained, or they were trained for the wrong war. So we'll see how much more the North Korean government is willing to send their soldiers. I don't see this makes a big difference in anything yet.
And talking about North Koreans, in your opinion, how much longer will Kim Jong-un help Kremlin with equipment and manpower? And won't this lead to internal problems in North Korea? Because Asian media report that people are dissatisfied with what's happening right now because their sons, their husbands are dying there. What do you think? And does North Korea have that much equipment and manpower to just give to Russia? Or it's continue?
Well, they certainly have a lot of manpower. The North Korean army is a large army, and they know that South Korea is not going to attack them. And I think Kim Jong-un also will not mourn the loss of North Korean soldiers any more than Putin mourns the loss of Russian soldiers. And so as long as he gets paid and whatever else Russia is providing to North Korea, whether it's technology for nuclear weapons or oil or whatever the exchange is with North Korea, as long as that continues, I imagine he will continue to do it. But again, even worse than Russia, we don't really know exactly what goes on inside North Korea.
Yeah, and I think we won't know, at least now. And also on January 14, Ukraine launched a series of successful strikes against Russia's strategic facilities in 12 regions. These are powerful plans that provide Russia with fuel for their troops. And will this reduce the intensity and scale of missile attacks on Ukraine, and how it will affect Russia?
Well, I think this is impressive what Ukraine is able to do. That while at war, Ukraine has actually increased its long-range precision drone capability, and it will only get better as they develop drones that can carry heavier or larger payloads. So going after these kind of targets is exactly what they should be doing as part of their war effort, not only defending where their troops are, but also destroying or disrupting Russia's ability to supply its own troops, as well as disrupting its oil industry overall, because that's the only thing that I think that keeps Russia in the war is their oil industry. So impressive how effective they have been, and really something that Russia has not been able to stop more effectively, these drone strikes.
And also, do you agree that Ukraine needs to lower their mobilization age to 18 years old, or I don't know, because a lot of our allies and Western experts say that we should. But Volodymyr Zelensky, our president, said that now more than 100 brigades on the battlefield need to be equipped with additional equipment. So he emphasized that this should be a priority for international partners and not mobilization age. What do you think about this, and who is right?
Well, I think this is a decision for Ukraine. I did not like it when I heard that Mr. Sullivan, but also Mr. Waltz, the National Security Advisor for Mr. Trump, pointed to this almost as an excuse of why Ukraine is not doing better because of this, but it actually is an excuse by Mr. Sullivan to cover up their failure. Of course, Ukraine needs more soldiers, but it's not because they are not recruiting enough young people. It's because I believe the government has not done a good job of earning the confidence of Ukrainian families that their son or daughter will not be sent to the front unless they have been properly equipped, properly trained, and put into a well-trained unit. I think there probably are still some families that have memories of the old Soviet times and see the army as a prison army. And they worry that their son or daughter or brother would be wasted. And so this is the job of the government, to assure them, to earn their confidence that these young people of whatever age will be properly trained and equipped and properly led. So this is about confidence. And I think there are enough Ukrainians 26 or older that could fill the ranks if families were confident. So just lowering the age is not the solution. I mean, there are millions of Ukrainians military age already that are here in Germany and Poland and Romania that should be encouraged to come home to Ukraine to fight. But they need to be confident that they'll be well trained and equipped, and if something should happen, that their family will be taken care of, just like if it was an American soldier.
And what do you think also about negotiations between Ukraine and Russia that will be initiated by Trump, I guess, this year or maybe next year? How do you see these negotiations, basically?
We don't know exactly how this is going to happen. I'm sure that General Kellogg, the envoy for President Trump, will be working hard with Ukrainians and Russians and others to bring about some sort of negotiations. Ultimately, I think Ukrainian government, President Zelensky, and others know that Russia will never live up to any agreement. And it was important that General Kellogg said that Russia cannot be trusted. That's a good start point for any negotiation, is to acknowledge that Russia cannot be trusted. And I think that the number one objective should not be stop the fighting. I mean, that's not an end state. because Russia won't stop. They may pause for a couple of years, but they're not going to stop unless they're defeated, and that there is, and Ukraine has the ability to significantly increase its own ability to defend itself, perhaps with the help of European or U.S. Capabilities. I think that the Ukrainian government knows what it can do and can continue to do. I sort of feel like Ukraine has the ability to continue doing what it's doing well into this year. And I also believe that some European countries realize that Ukraine cannot fail, or they will pay the price. And so, I can't predict with any confidence how this is going to happen. But I'm sure that the Russians believe that they are, any negotiation for them is only temporary, and that they get to keep everything they already have. That will be their expectation. And I think if we allow that to happen, or encourage Ukraine to accept that, then this will only delay resumption of conflict, and it also will discourage investors from wanting to contribute to the reconstruction of Ukraine.
Yes. And just to finish our interview, I want to ask you about your expectations from 2025, and please give us a good forecast. We hope for it.
Well, I've always been a believer in positive leadership, and Ukraine has positive leadership. I also believe in the human spirit, and that's part of the reason I'm so inspired by what Ukrainian women and men do in the military, but also in the population. And I believe that there are Europeans who understand what's at stake here, that if Ukraine fails, that there will be Russian troops coming to other European countries within the next 2 or 3 years. And I think they're beginning to finally understand that, and that they can't just wait and hide behind the United States. And then finally, even though I have not seen the strong message from President Trump, or even any message about, yes, of course we want Ukraine to win, I do think that there are members of his cabinet, his advisors, and also in the Congress, including Republicans, that support Ukraine. And so I'm not ready to give up just yet that the Trump administration will not support Ukraine. It seems that way, but I'm not ready to give up on that yet.
Yeah, and also Democrats are still in Congress, and a lot of congressmen really support Ukraine. So we hope that everything will be as good as possible. Thank you very much for the interview.
Thank you very much for the privilege.